How's it going, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of Perfect Recall, where we take a look back at the week in video game news. I do apologize for not having this out on its normal day. I was not feeling well last night, as I do this the day in advance. So Friday night this week, I was just not feeling well, and it wouldn't have been a good show. But unfortunately, because now I'm doing this on a day that I don't typically do it on, I am a little pressed for time because I had a lot of stuff to do today. So this is gonna be a little bit more of a rapid fire week to get into things. I've picked 3 stories that I think are kind of the more interesting variety that happened this week, and we're going to dig into it. The first of which is that the new mode in Fortnite's Imposters mode, is essentially a straight ripoff of Among Us. Now, I've never played either game, but I do know enough about them to understand that this is kind of a weird situation. It came out that they were doing this mode that is very much inspired by Among Us. The fact that they're even calling it imposter mode, and imposter is a word heavily tied to Among Us. I don't know if the word actually shows up in the games. Like I said, I haven't played the game. I think it does. At the very least, everybody knows in the context of video games, if you're saying imposter, you're talking about Among Us. So the map picture came out, and it's like really similar to Among Us's map. I get that Fortnite, they're the biggest game in the world, and they want to do what they want to do, and it's not unheard of to put a mode in your competitive multiplayer game that is akin to another competitive game. I mean, look at all the games that put in battle royale modes. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. I mean, hell, to be honest with you, or not to be honest with you, you already know this, but Fortnite, initially was not the battle royale. It was the battle royale mode in the game that took off and made it as popular as it is. And I'm sure there's some people out there that aren't even aware that there's another aspect to Fortnite. But it's kind of like a direct dig at Among Us in a weird way. And there was a quote, and I'm taking all this from the Kotaku article about it. There was a quote from the co-founder of Innersloth, which is the company that makes Among Us. His name is Marcus Bromander. And this is what he said: "We didn't patent the Among Us mechanics. That doesn't lead to a healthy game industry." And then he finishes up by saying, "Is it really that hard to put 10% more effort into putting your own spin on it, though?" I definitely understand where they're coming from, being upset about this. It's not a good look for Fortnite. I mean, Fortnite's so big that I don't really think this affects them in any way. There's definitely not like any type of like legal case or anything like that. It's just kind of like, it's an issue more of like goodwill, and this just paints Fortnite in a negative light. The people that play Fortnite, especially like teenagers and stuff, like, I'm sure there's gonna be some out there that are like, "Oh, this is kind of stupid, they're stealing from Among Us." But there's probably also gonna be a lot of people who are like, "Oh man, I guess I don't need Among Us anymore. I just play with my Fortnite buddies and kind of do the same thing." So it is what it is, I guess. There's not much anybody can really do about it. It's just, I definitely understand where Innersloth is coming from in feeling just kind of like that this is a gut punch, It's just kind of sucky all the way around. So I don't know if anything more is going to come out of the story. I mean, that kind of is it for the most part. I mean, maybe they make changes, Fortnite, somebody there decides like, maybe we should make this map a little bit different. But who knows? I mean, they're like I said, they're so big. They're the biggest thing in the world. Like, is anything really going to happen? Probably not, All right, next up on the list is that the next Call of Duty Vanguard has finally been announced, and they're going back to World War II, which I think is kind of an interesting choice for them. I've talked about this in the past, that the biggest thing that Battlefield needs to do is try to differentiate themselves from Call of Duty. And I feel like with Call of Duty having a misstep with Cold War, especially after Modern Warfare was absolutely incredible, this is like ball is totally in the court for Battlefield, and what they've showed off with 2042 so far is, I mean, it's a slam dunk. I mean, the game looks fantastic. The portal thing with like being able to change the maps and change game modes looks really cool. I really dig what they're doing with it. The destructibility of the environments, bringing in multiplayer maps from previous games. It really is kind of like them taking that shot across the bow of Call of Duty, saying like, "Hey man, you might have forgot about us, but we're still here." So Call of Duty then, in response, I think it's kind of smart for them to differentiate themselves from Battlefield, going back to World War II. I actually quite enjoyed the Call of Duty World War II game that came out a few years ago. I thought it had a pretty solid campaign, and I played quite a bit of the multiplayer. I would say I probably put in a solid 60 to 70 hours in the multiplayer, which for me is quite a bit. Modern Warfare, though, I mean, I probably tripled that. I was obsessed with Modern Warfare for a little while. So I think it's smart for them to do this, and they're changing up the multiplayer in some interesting ways. And I'm taking this from an article from IGN. They announced 20 multiplayer maps, 16 or 6v6, 4 2v2, and then they are bringing back Gunsmith to do the gun customization thing, which I always feels like a little bit of a weird thing with World War II because they didn't have the type of weaponry that you have now. But it does seem like this game within its fiction is doing a little bit of alternate history, so maybe that'll explain some of that. But one of the things that sounds very interesting to me, at least, is something that they're calling combat pacing. And what that is, it kind of divides multiplayer maps and modes into 3 different categories. Tactical, which is fewer players for slower gameplay. Standard, 6v6 traditional player count. And Blitz, more players for chaotic, fast gameplay. In the past, the maps have kind of dictated how many people are on each map, because there are some maps in Call of Duty where if you just had too many people, it would be absolute chaos. But they do put out those fun maps. The Shipyard's kind of like a big one. Nuketown was a big one. And then you kind of get maps like in Modern Warfare 2, was it the Afghan Desert? I can't remember if that was the name of it. It was kind of like a much larger map. So there would definitely be times where you're kind of wandering around not seeing anybody. You hear something off in the distance and you go have to run and chase after it. So I get what they're doing with it. I don't know if this is necessarily different enough from what they need to do to be successful against Battlefield 2042. Not different enough. I mean, obviously that's what I mean. You can tell I'm kind of scatterbrained tonight trying to do this, but I didn't want to skip the week. I don't know if this is necessarily different enough for them to kind of take the momentum away from Battlefield 42. I think that the trailers and the gameplay we've seen from Battlefield 42 have done an excellent job of selling the game and showing people that, like, hey, if you've taken a break from Battlefield, and I haven't played since Battlefield 4, this is probably the time to get back into it. I think that that's kind of like their big rallying cry. And I think that's what Call of Duty had with Modern Warfare. I think that dragged a lot of people back into Call of Duty that weren't playing. And obviously, Warzone's been successful, their Battle Royale mode. They're obviously going to keep going with that. That's not going to slow down anytime soon. I guess another kind of difference is, there is a campaign mode to Vanguard. There is not a campaign mode to 2042, which is fine. We've had plenty of first-person shooter multiplayer games with no campaign that we are now used to. It is no longer a foreign concept. All Battle Royale modes, or Battle Royale games for the most part, have no story mode. Like the first Titanfall had no story mode. So it's not this weird thing like it used to be anymore. So I'm curious to see what they can do. I will say this. I'm buying Battlefield 2042 the day it comes out. I don't think I'm going to be picking up Call of Duty. Maybe I try it out at some point if it goes on sale, but I've said this in the past, I typically play like one multiplayer shooter type game a year, and sometimes it's one every couple of years. I didn't play anything last year, so coming off that layover from Modern Warfare, I'm kind of ready to go, and I've made my choice, and it's Battlefield 2042. The last thing up this week is kind of just a rumor right now, but it does seem like it could be happening with a higher degree of certainty than most rumors, and that's Rockstar remastering Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. There was a report from Kotaku saying that they are in the final stages of development, and then there was also a report from Video Games Chronicle this week saying that they're not coming out this year, they're coming out next year. This isn't like some type of thing that like makes no sense. You hear a rumor sometimes, you're like, I don't think that's happening. I could definitely see this happening 100%. Fans have definitely been knocking at Rockstar's door for a long time now with like, hey, where is Grand Theft Auto 6? I don't think that's coming anytime soon. I would say at earliest 2023. They worked themselves into a corner with Grand Theft Auto Online, but they worked themselves into an incredibly repeatable and profitable corner. They really have no pressure on them to come out with the next game because they've made this product that makes so much money. Like, from a business sense, the business minds at Rockstar are obviously going to hammer down on that. But the other thing to kind of keep in mind with Grand Theft Auto 6 not coming out is think about all the like big turnover that's happened. Laszlo is gone. Laszlo is a huge contributor to the writing team of Grand Theft Auto. One of the Hauser brothers, again, a huge contributor to the writing team, is gone. You have like the creative backbone of your company that made your company successful. They have left. They've exit stage left. They're gone. I don't know what Laszlo's going to be doing. I'm sure, I can't remember what Hauser brother left, but I'm sure he's got something going, and Leslie Benzies also left. He was a big deal at Rockstar. It's going to be a different Rockstar. It's going to be a different game, and maybe that's what they need. There are some people that were getting a little tired with Grand Theft Auto 5. I think sometimes the satire doesn't quite hit for some people, and they feel that it's just kind of tired and, overwrote, and just, it just doesn't interest them anymore. Maybe they still like the game, but they don't really like all the trappings that come with it. So maybe this is a chance for fresh blood to pick things up and try and take their hand at it. I'm a huge Grand Theft Auto fan. It is probably my all-time favorite video game franchise. I think Grand Theft Auto 5 is one of the greatest games ever made. I think it is incredible. And just like I thought Grand Theft Auto 4 was one of the greatest games ever made when it came out, just like I thought Grand Theft Auto 3 was one of the greatest games of all time when it came out. Like, they have constantly pushed themselves forward, and I want to see what happens next. Some people may have just kind of been like, I'm good, I don't need another one, but for me, I want to know what happens next. All right, so that's going to wrap things up. So what is going on with the channel, because I always take time to do that, and actually quite a bit is happening with the channel. So this week, new episode of Finally Getting Around to It came out on Thursday, played SSX Tricky. What's happening this coming week? The next big Perfect Reload video is coming out on Monday morning, and it is a big one. I have put so much time and effort into this thing. I hope you guys enjoy it. It is very different than anything I have ever done before, from the visual style and everything that came with it. And I don't want to say what that is because you'll see it once the video comes out. Just a few minutes before doing this, I recorded some footage of 12 Minutes that just came out this past week. New game that's on Game Pass and PC, and I'm very excited for that. I don't want to make any promises that the video is coming out because I haven't gotten a chance to check the audio to make sure everything is good. I think it's okay, but I'm not positive. But if it's good, then it'll be out this coming week. I'm also going to try and film some of Humankind, which is a Civilization-style game that came out this past week. I played about an hour of it earlier today to just kind of get myself familiar with it, so that way when I do record it, I am not coming into it blind, because coming into a game like that blind, that would make for some very, very boring content, because it's just me reading a bunch of tutorial pop-ups and things like that. But I think the game is cool so far. If I don't get a chance to put the 12 minutes footage up for whatever reason, I think that game is very, very interesting. It's very janky, way more than I thought it was going to be. It has a lot of problems with many things, but it is a very, very cool concept, and it does some very neat and interesting things. It's way more of a puzzle game than I thought it was going to be, so I'm looking forward to playing that on my own personal time, and I would recommend it if you have the opportunity to check it out on Game Pass. But yeah, that is going to wrap things up, and I will see you again throughout the week for some cool videos. Leave a comment, let's start a conversation, let's talk about some stuff, and if not, I'll catch you next weekend for another episode of Perfect Recall.